Watch this.
Idaho was the topic of conversation in the nation's capital today, so we talked to some of the key players in the Gem State's capital about the Supreme Court's arguments on Idaho's emergency room abortion law. The community is rallying around the family of an Ada County deputy who was shot and killed in the line of duty over the weekend. There are vigils, memorials, and a GoFundMe. But one Garden City coffee shop is taking a step further and donating 100% of their proceeds from the weekend to the family. This weekend, we're celebrating a different life we lost recently, Representative Sue Chu. We'll tell you one of the many ways that you can also honor her lasting legacy. Today at the United States Supreme Court, justices heard oral arguments about Idaho's near-total abortion ban in the United States versus Idaho and Moyle, two consolidated cases where the Department of Justice claims that Idaho's abortion law, with exceptions only for rape, incest, and the life of the mother, they believe it violates the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. But let's recap how we got to Supreme Court arguments. Back in the year 2020, Idaho passed a trigger law, Senate Bill 1385, which said if the United States Supreme Court ever overturned Roe v. Wade, Idaho would immediately make abortion a crime. Well, that happened in June of 2022. So performing an abortion is a felony for doctors in Idaho, and it's punishable with up to 5 years in prison and a permanent loss of a license for more than one offense. Idaho's law was triggered and went into effect specifically in August 2022. Almost immediately, President Joe Biden's Department of Justice filed a lawsuit because they believe Idaho's law conflicted with federal EMTALA rules. And EMTALA is a federal law, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act. And the argument is that it requires doctors to stabilize or treat any patient who shows up at an emergency room, including an abortion if needed. The DOJ argues that Idaho's law doesn't allow for that for pregnant women that need an abortion. They say there's a gray area. They say a patient, though, should not be denied care because they aren't dying yet. A federal judge immediately put an injunction in place later on, and about a year later, that injunction was suspended by a 3-judge panel on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. They said Idaho could enforce all of its abortion ban, even emergency care, while the lawsuit works its way through the courts, which is what it's doing right now. Back in January, the United States Supreme Court agreed to hear arguments in the United States versus Idaho. And here we are today, Idaho's big day at the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. Legal counsel for the Gem State, they defended the law, and the DOJ, they're challenging it. So Idaho says that the law is clean and constitutional and should be allowed to be fully in place. They argue there is an exception in Idaho law for an abortion if it is necessary to save the life of a pregnant woman. Critics, meanwhile, say that doctors do not have a clear answer on when to take action according to the law. And we heard from major Idaho players from both sides of the courtroom on the topic following arguments this morning. They could not be more diametrically opposed. Center stage at the United States Supreme Court. Idaho's laws on abortion, specifically arguments over the interaction between EMTALA and state law in emergency situations. Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador was at the Supreme Court today. He spoke shortly after arguments ended about the interaction between EMTALA and Idaho law.
EMTALA says nothing about abortion. In fact, EMTALA requires that emergency rooms care for pregnant women and their unborn children. And under Idaho's law, doctors are expected to treat women facing life-threatening situations, as well as women experiencing ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages.
Idaho is in the house! Yes!
Idaho minority leaders, Representative Ilana Rubel and Senator Melissa Wintrow, traveled to D.C. to speak out on the issue. They believe it is important that both sides from Idaho share perspective. They say the reality is that doctors are leaving Idaho because of this conflict.
It is awkward to come to terms with the fact that the law that they championed has caused complete disaster to the state of Idaho. And it's much more convenient for them to just say, oh, la, 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 this isn't happening. Nobody else is telling the truth. But facts are facts, numbers are numbers, and they can only run from it so far.
Supreme Court justices listened to extended arguments from each side. They will rule on the interaction of EMTALA and Idaho law later this year. But for now, a major debate centers on the story that Idaho women are being airlifted out of the state for care. Just this week, we heard from Dr. Jim Souza, the chief medical officer for St. Luke's Health.
So we've had 6 just in the first
trimester, ironically, of this year. Since January, the first 4 months of this year, we've had 6 versus 1 in all of 2023. If I annualize it, I tell myself we'll be at, somewhere between 15 and 20 by the end of the year.
Standing in the shadow of the Supreme Court, AG Labrador was asked about that exact stat.
What's telling is that they never said that under oath. Once again, all the examples that they're using under oath are examples that are covered by Idaho law, but they're going to the press and they're making all these statements that are clearly misinformation, in my opinion. In fact, I have talked to doctors in the ER, the same ER rooms that they're talking about, and they are telling me that they have no idea what this administrator is talking about.
I believe the doctors, and they would not be making that up. The medical director, I think it was St. Luke's that said that. He's not going to make that up.
I know some of these doctors. They're not making this up. I know the doctors that are leaving the state and that are saying, that these are not invented stories. And the notion that, every doctor in the state is lying, every hospital in the state is lying, you should just believe us, there's no problem, is not a credible position for them to take. It is pure gaslighting and nothing but. And I understand this is an inconvenient truth for them.
So I have asked emergency room doctors what this is all about, because I want to be informed about what's happening in Idaho. And they're saying that they don't know what this is about. So I would like to get some more information on this. In my opinion, if somebody's being transferred out of the state of Idaho whose life is in jeopardy, that actually doesn't conform with their practice and the things that they're supposed to be as doctors. So I would hate to think that St. Luke's or any other hospital is trying to do something like this just to make a political statement.
Labrador argues that Idaho's law is clear with the exception. Rubel and Wintrow say they've heard firsthand that it's not clear, and that because of it, there are major consequences.
If it could lead to jeopardy of the life of the mother, there's no immediacy in our law. It just says that it could lead to the death of a mother, then our law allows abortion in those cases.
You're hearing the things they're saying, not believing doctors, physicians aren't leaving, and that's just not true. This is basic counting, right? We can count the number of doctors who've left our state. We can talk to medical facilities that cannot recruit a physician into our state.
So the Supreme Court's ruling on this whole question and really on the arguments, it'll likely have implications for abortion laws in other states. Boise Mayor Lauren McLean also had something to say about the arguments. In a statement today, she said in part, "Let me be clear, we should all be free to make our own decisions privately and with our doctors about our bodies, lives, and futures. Physicians need to be able to provide the emergency health care they have been trained and taken an oath to do." She goes on to say that nobody should have to travel to another state for medical care they need, and yet that's what's happening because we are losing healthcare providers in emergencies, can't be treated here, end quote from Mayor McLean. By the way, the United States Supreme Court, they will likely have a decision on this later on in the summer, probably June. We will keep you posted. An Idaho family is grieving from the pain of losing a loved one. Ada County Deputy Tobin Bolter was shot Saturday at a traffic stop in Boise. He died early Sunday. Local businesses throughout the Treasure Valley are supporting the family with fundraisers and donations, really to help this family in an unbelievable time of need. But one Garden City coffee shop, they won't make a penny with their fundraiser. They say 100% of their proceeds on Saturday will go directly to Deputy Bolter's family. They spoke with Andrew Bartline about why they're doing this.
The change of season falls in the Treasure Valley.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Like customers fall into Disciples Coffee.
All right, how are these drinks right up for you folks?
Like Christian Melrose falls back to where he started.
At a Starbucks in Sacramento.
But now being the boss,
I just want to build a coffee shop.
It's not just about brewing your own shots.
This place is 6 months old. Yeah.
This work's about much more.
Just trying to keep that faith and spread positivity.
Faith.
Large Irish Catholic families.
Now in need.
We've got to do something.
Of positivity.
Saw a couple Instagram stories about him passing.
Sunday night, Ada County Deputy Tobin Bolter died, shot a day before in a traffic stop.
It's come to
Fallen
past.
like a brother.
It hits you hard as a law enforcement officer. I worked in a small jurisdiction.
A 20-year career
It definitely is one of those
taught him one
careers where
life lesson.
family and faith is huge.
And what are disciples, if not called?
Saturday, 8 to 2, all proceeds, every penny we make here in the store is going directly to his family.
Did you know him at all?
No, he went to my brother's church, but you just understand there's a family hurting, there's a family grieving, and this business has afforded us the opportunity to give back to a family who sacrificed so much.
It's bringing in all kinds of people,
Just right up the road. So
including Braylon Decker.
to think that, it was a regular day for him. He was just doing his job of protecting us as a community, serving us. And I think that's why the community is coming together to pour into this family.
A full cup of coffee can't fill the hole in empty hearts.
It's huge.
But if you believe law enforcement officers are called to protect and serve,
Sometimes it doesn't go as planned.
then you must know their brothers
You wake up
stand tall
and it's over.
when one falls.
We need to do this right. It needs to be big to make an impact.
Disciples Coffee also has donations open for the family. People who think they cannot make it Saturday are donating through that link. We will have that link for you on the story on our website, along with the exact fundraiser hour details as well. Deputy Bolter also lived in the city of Middleton. Middleton is hosting a vigil for Deputy Bolter tonight at 9 p.m. Lots of businesses, Joe, have been involved in collections, donations, a lot out in Middleton as well. We will try to collect as many as we can, get those in a list on our website so people can find out and help if they so choose.
And I know we did hear from the community there were so many different fundraisers and they were kind of confused. If you are looking just to donate some money, there is a GoFundMe link that has now been verified for the family. We have that KTVB.com.
Correct?
Okay, Andrew Bartline reporting. Thank you, Andrew.
When I think of Sue, I think of her moral clarity and her intellectual curiosity.
Just her company and her warmth and her caring. Gonna really miss her sitting at my side in committee.
The House will be at ease while we say thank you to Sue Chu.
Earlier this month, we lost Idaho's longest-serving Democratic representative, Sue Chu. She died of pancreatic cancer. She was a licensed pharmacist and served on several committees over her 9 terms at the Idaho State House. She represented Boise's District 17 for nearly 20 years and was dedicated to public service the whole time. She was known as a thoughtful and kind person through and through. And this weekend, you can honor Sue Chu's legacy at a few different events. There is a walk for Sue on Saturday morning at 10:30. It's in the Purple Stride event to end pancreatic cancer at the Old Timer Shelter at Ann Morrison Park. Then Saturday afternoon from 4 to 7, there will be a public viewing and reception at the Bowman Funeral Parlor in Boise. Sunday at 4 p.m., there is a celebration of life at the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Garden City and a reception after in their courtyard. You can also watch the service on Zoom and YouTube through the website on your screen. I'm sure we also have that located on our website for you. We'll be right back. Albertsons is selling even more stores to try to get their approval, I should say, on their proposed merger with Kroger. It's not been approved, but a neighboring state wants to block the deal. Abby Davis has the details on that story, plus your other 208 news in today's 411.
6 witnesses took the stand today in day 10 of Chad Daybell's murder trial. Chad is the Eastern Idaho man accused of murder and conspiracy in the deaths of his late wife Tammy, as well as his current wife's 2 children, JJ and Tylee. A lot of the testimony revolved around Tammy's death. 3 of the witnesses were Tammy's previous co-workers. They were questioned on their knowledge of Tammy's health before she died. The defense mentioned that Tammy did not like to go to the doctor, and that's why there isn't a lot of health data about her. For more details, go to our website, ktvb.com. Court starts again tomorrow. The Oregon Health Authority held a public hearing this afternoon to discuss the potential impacts of the planned merger between Kroger and Albertsons. Specifically, how that merger could impact pharmacy services. The 2 companies announced the merger 2 years ago that locally would involve Fred Meyer, Safeway, Albertsons, and QFC stores. But Oregon has since joined a federal lawsuit to block the merger. In response to the block, Albertsons is selling 166 more stores, which comes to a total of 579 stores in hopes that the merger will be approved. Tickets are still available for the St. Jude Dream Home. The 2,100 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home is located in the Shelburne community in Meridian. Tickets are $100. Money raised goes to the St. Jude Children's Hospital, where no family ever receives a bill for treatment, housing, travel, or food. To buy a ticket, log on to dreamhome.org. It's the fastest way to get your ticket. You can also call the number on your screen, 1-800-537-8939. The winner will be announced right here on KTVB on June 2nd. The Idaho Steelheads are back at home tonight for Game 2 of the first round of the Kelly Cup playoffs. They beat the Allen Americans 6-5 Monday night. You can watch the game live on Idaho's very own 24/7. That's digital channel 7.2. Puck drops at 7 o'clock. Zoo Boise's iconic draft slide is now open. It's located in the perfect spot right next to the drafts. The slide was officially unveiled earlier today with the first slide by 11-year-old Henry, who is a longtime member of the zoo's education programs. The slide was moved to make room for the zoo's new education campus, scheduled to break ground later this year. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
A fantastic moon last night. If you missed it, it won't officially be full, but close. So not that much noticeable as far as the difference between the two for this evening. So I hope you enjoyed that. We do have clear skies right now. We do have some clouds that are over some of the foothills. I think we're going to still continue with partly cloudy skies for tonight. We're going to pretty much have that for tomorrow as well. So if you look at this, it's partly cloudy at our weather forecast. In the morning, there'll be quite a few clouds, and especially Friday morning. That's the change. Storm system comes in later tomorrow, possibly some gusty winds, possibly some isolated thunderstorms. And the same thing into early Friday morning, likely just mainly a shower. After that, for the most part, it dries up for the weekend, okay? Temperatures will be dropping with the storm system for tomorrow, so the frontal system, after highs tomorrow, pretty close to 70 degrees, will start to drop. So there's partly cloudy skies tonight. I think that you'll kind of enjoy this as far as light winds are concerned, but then for tomorrow evening, we'll see winds up to 10 to 20 miles an hour, and of course, then that means cooler for the weekend. So generally, the word here is partly cloudy, and as you take a look at this, you'll see partly cloudy for tonight. Low temperature will be down to about 44 degrees. So here's your winds for this evening. It's still one of those very pleasant nights that you're going to be seeing. And then when you take a look at the northwest, as you look at today, there's quite a few clouds that are down here over southern Oregon as well as northern California. Now, that storm system is pushing into our area from the northeast. It's going to keep us with temperatures at least in the 60s. And that's where our scattered showers come from. It's going to be later in the day as well as into tomorrow evening. In fact, here's a look at tomorrow. Generally partly cloudy, and later tomorrow night and getting into early Friday morning, there's a chance of those showers, as I talked about. So temperature-wise, our coolest morning will be Saturday down to about a 40, so not bad for most of the gardens. 43 degrees for Sunday for the morning low. And here's your weekend temperatures, mainly into the mid-60s, as you notice. And around the area, you can look at some of the high temperatures into the mid-60s for the Magic Valley. Down here in the Boise Valley, temperatures will be in the upper 60s to right around 70 degrees. There's the chance of showers late Thursday into early Friday morning. It pretty much dries up over the weekend. And there are your high temperatures. And by next Tuesday, back to some 70s.
All right, before we get to comments, we wanted to remind you there are still tickets available for the St. Jude Dream Home. 2,100 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. It's located in the Shelburne community in Meridian. Tickets are $100. You can win the house for $100. If you buy your ticket today, you will also be entered to win 4 club seat tickets to a 2024 Boise State game on the Blue. What a treat. And if you buy your ticket by May 3rd, you'll be entered to win this beautiful 2023 Ford truck. And all the money raised through this campaign, it helps St. Jude's Children's Hospitals. In 18 years, you all have helped us raise more than $16 million. The easiest and fastest way to buy a ticket is online at dreamhome.org. You can also call the number on your screen. The winner will be announced right here on KTVB on June 2nd. That's a lot of excitement. Hope you can get your ticket in. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments to end the program. This person says, thanks, Mr. Labrador and your team for representing Idahoans' conservative values. This is why I live in Idaho. And thanks, Joe, for your unbiased reporting. Mike, oh, my pleasure, Mike. I'll keep it up. This person says, my 18-year-old trans daughter has lost 2 OB/GYN doctors from St. Luke's in the past year. Labrador minimizes misery and medicine. He is the politician, not the doctors. That's Tony from Boise. Tony, thank you for your comment. This person says, Joe, who pays for the whirlybird flight out of the state when necessary as a sudden rise increase indicates? So I will tell you this, it depends on your insurance, but we were just looking into this a few minutes ago. Life Flight, which is one of the companies that actually flies people from hospitals, they have their own insurance, and for $85 a year, that covers you for any medically necessary flight. So there's insurance, and it varies. And then finally, someone wanted to know why there is still St. Jude Dream Home tickets available at this point. We actually had more tickets this year than ever, so more available to the community. See you tomorrow right here on the 208.